I got 99 problems, but a great panel ain't one. Let's get right to him from Washington. Julian Epstein is a Democratic strategist, and Karen Finney, an MSNBC political analyst. I do know where I am. Good day to both of you.
Good to see you.
Good afternoon.
Karen, Mitt Romney is having a fundraiser with Dick Cheney tonight. No, all jokes aside here, but the VP getting all the love today is Joe Biden. After his NAACP speech, he was booed for ending his speech, contrasting, of course, to Mitt Romney, who was booed for using an infelicitous turn of phrase, Obamacare. How would you rate Biden's speech today?
I thought it was like a 10 plus. He was awesome. You know, and I was on Twitter and it was blowing up. People were so excited to see Joe Biden there. And, you know, particularly because Joe Biden did exactly what Mitt Romney failed to do. And that is he spoke from the heart and he talked about vision, right? He went there and he said, this is the vision that President Obama and I have. I also think you cannot underestimate and underscore, given Joe Biden's personal relationship with the NAACP, in his own work and his own lifetime, having him stand up there and say, this is my guy, and I'm standing with him, and you got to stand with him. I thought that was incredibly important. Meanwhile, Mitt Romney goes to a fundraiser at the home of the gentleman who thinks that it's perfectly okay to be as secret as possible and that the American people don't deserve really any information.
Well, that contrast is surely jarring. Julian, Biden kept saying this election is about character and conviction, and even threw in vision. Is that how you talk about offshore accounts without talking about offshore accounts?
Yeah, I think that they've cleverly flipped this otherness idea that the Republicans have tried to put on Obama. They were putting that very cleverly on Romney. Here's a guy who can't explain his Swiss bank accounts. Here's a guy who can't explain his investments in the Cayman Islands. And here's a guy who can't explain, with all this new reporting by David Corn and others, about when he actually left Bain Capital. And, you know, I think it was a remarkable contrast today between Biden and Romney yesterday. You know, Michael, I remember a time, and I've been watching these NAACP conventions for years, and I remember a time, particularly when I was on Capitol Hill, where the partisan divide when it came to racial politics wasn't as deep. And you only have to go back to the Bush years. I mean, Bush had luminaries like Colin Powell and Condoleezza Rice, and he tried to find common ground with the African-American community, even though he wasn't very successful, but he tried to find common ground on things like No Child Left Behind. Here, there wasn't even a veiled attempt to try to find common ground. You have Romney poking his finger in the eye of the African-American community with the Obamacare, Obamacare comment. You have the fact that he's embraced a tax plan that could raise taxes on millions of African Americans, and he made no comment whatsoever on the voter suppression ID. It's like a kamikaze. This is the kamikaze philosophy of the Republicans, that they can somehow win this election without any votes from the communities of color. And you would say it was dog whistle politics, except for the fact that, as you remember, dogs are kind of scared of Romney.
No doubt about that. Le chien, indubitably. Look, let's talk about Karen, Romney and Cheney. Is Romney going there just for the money, or is he getting some VP advice too? Maybe take Liz or Lynn Cheney as his VP.
You know, I don't know if it's VP advice or if it's secrecy advice. I mean, I'm very serious about this. I mean, think about under the Bush regime and Dick Cheney. And, I mean, you know, he was the guy, as we now know, who was very much behind the idea that, you know, the White House has every right to be as secretive as possible. And so, and, you know, very much in the power of the executive. So, I mean, I really think there's something to this idea that here you've got, you know, Mitt Romney. It's a very corporate style attitude to suggest that the American people don't deserve. And it's not even just to what Julian was saying, that he doesn't have answers. The answers don't match up. You signed documents saying one thing that were then submitted by Bain and yourself to the SEC. You're now saying something different. Okay, tell us how that happened. Prove it. He doesn't think that anybody deserves an answer to that kind of a question. I think Dick Cheney is exactly the kind of person to give him the advice that he needs on how to just keep avoiding telling the truth.
Wow. And in light of what Karen has just said, Julian, not only in terms of the secrecy that can be generated, this just can't be for money, though, can it? Romney's getting the neocon blessing from Mr. Neocon himself, Dick Cheney.
Yes, I think it gives a new meaning to the term shotgun wedding. And with all of the friendly fire that Romney has been getting from conservatives lately, he should feel very at home with Dick Cheney in Utah. You combine that, you know, with his new surrogates, Rick Perry. Rick Perry's the perfect surrogate for Mitt Romney. Rick Perry couldn't remember 3 federal agencies. Mitt Romney can't remember when he left Bain Capital. So, you know, you keep having kind of, you would expect at this point that the Romney campaign would be in fourth gear, and they seem to be stuck in second gear. I think the appearance of the NAACP was an awful appearance for him, even if you subscribe to the dog whistle theory. He cannot get out from all of these stories about investments in Swiss bank accounts in Cayman Islands, the point that Karen was just making about signing papers when he was or wasn't at Bain Capital. They can't get into a consistent message about what they want to do for this country. And it really is one of the most ineffective campaigns you've seen at this point, particularly given that he sewed this nomination up back in March.
Yeah.
You know,
well, Gillian Epstein and Carrie Finney, I wish I could go on and talk a little bit more, but we got to end it here. But I love the signifying going on between you two. Thank you so much.